Hi, this is part 3 of our high school informational. In this video, we're going to talk about how to maintain and hopefully improve your mental health if you're in bad circumstances. So does anyone want to start?
To manage stress, I just try to organize everything the best I can. So I realize, like, okay, I don't need to do this right now. I can set a time slot where I can do this later, and I don't have to think about it until then. And then to manage just like bad days, you just gotta when you wake up and you feel like you're having a bad day, you have to try to like this might not work for everyone, obviously, but this is what works for me. Just try to shake that feeling and try to think of other things that could make it a good day. Because if you just focus on the fact that you don't feel so great that day, then your day is going to be bad. But if you try to focus on like other things, then eventually it could get a little better.
I think also it's like okay to feel stressed and like all like the negative emotions because like that's what makes you like a person. It's like not everyone has like 100% good days and not everyone can handle everything. And when you're feeling stressed, like maybe it's just like one day or maybe it can even be like a whole week or a month. But when you're in that time, I feel like it's okay. You should like accept what you're feeling and then start to deal with it. Think about how to deal with it. I feel like because like that was my personal issue. I always thought like, dang it, why am I stressed? Like this is not a big deal. And I feel like I often compare myself to like other people in the sense that I feel like a lot of other people like had more things to worry about than I did. So I felt bad for complaining. But over the time, like I'm still working on it right now, but like I've gotten better at like accepting the fact that everyone has different stress capacities. So it's okay to like feel how you are.
Drowning in a 3-foot pool and drowning in a 50-foot ocean is the same exact thing. It doesn't matter. You're drowning either way. It's okay to admit that, hey, I'm going through a hard time. That's okay. Don't let your ego get in the way. I think everyone here could say we've all had a bad day,
Yeah.
like, and we all have our own way to handle that, right? You can't see it because the thing we're recording on is whack, but everyone's nodding their heads, so it's okay. Um, and like ways to handle that, you can Isaac runs. If he wants to tell us about how he handles that and how well he runs, because he always talks about it.
I have like a issue with anxiety, and I haven't figured it out yet. I'm not really sure how to. I've been talking to Nathan about it actually when we do go run that one time, and I'd say like there gets to a point where like it goes from a bad day and it just keeps going downhill, and I think that that's the point where I've reached, and I think it's okay. Like you have counselors, and I think that at that point where you feel like you're in a hole, you should definitely seek professional help. I know like talking to your friends or like just ranting, as it's called, or venting to someone does help, but eventually like seeking out professional help does help a lot. Talking to someone that's not a part of your life definitely works. They gave me certain exercises you can do, like meditating definitely helps you. Just doing it at least like 5 minutes a day was what my psychiatrist recommended for me. And there's other different types of techniques, like there's something called grounding, where you name you use all your five senses. Like for example, you list five things that you hear. That way, like you know you're physically here, because sometimes it feels like you're not fully in control and you need to get back into in reality like where you are and everything. But yeah, I'd say definitely seek professional help, look things up for yourself, different exercises, but meditating definitely works.
So definitely don't be afraid to admit if something's wrong, and then definitely be willing to try things to better yourself. I feel like I'm a big skeptic because all that stuff sounds stupid to me,
Mm.
personally, but I've tried it before and it does help. What Isaac was talking about, grounding, it can help. It's a short activity. Basically, you list like 5 things you hear, 4 things you see, 3 things you smell, 2 things you can touch, and then 1 thing you taste. The last one's always the hardest, but it could just help to keep you present in the moment. And sometimes that's all you need. But yes, definitely be willing to admit that there's a problem if you have a problem, and be willing and open to any solutions that may come your way or be given to you. Princess?
I just want to say that if you have a bad day or like you're stressing out, don't overwhelm yourself and don't like make sure you don't it's not an excuse to act upon other people and like take it out on them, because even though like you could be frustrated with yourself or frustrated with what's going on, the people around you are there to support you. So like it's very hard, but try to control like your emotions and don't let them get the best of you, because that's what will turn like your bad day to even worse day. And don't be afraid to like seek help, like Isaac said, to go out to like professional help. Like I know a lot of people don't do it because they don't want to be seen as weak, but if you really need the help, the school is there to provide it for you. Like our counselors and like the student support center I have at our school is really helpful for students. Even just to take a breather, like you can just stay there and like clear your mind. I know in the beginning of the school year I was having a really hard time because my grandma was in the hospital, and I was really having trouble with schoolwork because I couldn't focus. Like all I could think about was her. So I did go out to the student support center, and they definitely helped me. They reached out to my teachers and let them know that I was having a hard time. So even my teachers were like, if this assignment is making your life like too stressed, or if you don't feel like you complete it in time, then you can, they would like let me postpone the assignments until I was ready to come back and learn. And your teachers are always like gonna be understanding, because if you're going through something, they want to make sure that school is not something like to worry about, I guess.
Right. So you have people to help you, even if you aren't reaching out to some outside source like school. There are a lot of people around to help you. And yeah, high school brings on a lot of stress. And honestly, I think high school, a lot of kids don't have very good mental health. I can't talk, but I feel like a lot of people, you need to address it in order to fix it. And not saying that you're like a problem that needs to be fixed. I feel like it's nothing personal. It's honestly for you to admit to yourself, whether if you're like, hey, I just don't like what's going on, and you want to make it better, and you just want to see yourself improve. That's up to you. You're definitely not alone in it.
Yeah.
It's more of
I
something
feel like
not fix.
the first step to like tackling your problem is not feeling sorry for yourself. So I feel like if you feel sorry for yourself, you're gonna keep digging yourself in a hole. I feel like you just have to find the solution and just think to yourself. It's a very individual thing sometimes. Just thinking to yourself and constant thoughts. I feel like being sorry for yourself is one of the main things that digs you even deeper.
But it's also okay to, I think, keep some things to yourself. Like it's good to go out to people, but you don't want to tell some people too much. You know what I mean? Like I think sometimes we can overshare. And that's not a bad thing, but there may just be some problems from that, or maybe like in a moment out of frustration you exaggerate something, you say something you don't actually mean, and you just get yourself in a series of problems. So definitely reach out to people who are credible that can help you as well. Sure.
Trusted adult, that's the word that we
Yeah.
like to use in education. So like whoever that trusted adult may be, if it's a former teacher, if it's a current teacher, if it's a therapist, if it's a social worker, like just somebody that you can go to when you are needing to kind of get it off your chest. And they're not going to judge you. They're not going to like that's the opposite of their job. Their job is to listen, offer support, provide techniques, and just as Gia said, it's not about fixing you, it's about offering support. Like how can I help you help yourself? That's what I'm here to do, is to help you become that
A
person.
good reason to go to a trusted adult rather than your friends is that the trusted adult isn't really a part of your life, so they're not going to be like biased and just be like, oh, like they didn't mean that. Like a trusted adult is actually listening from like a new perspective, and they're actually giving you the advice to guide you, and like they're not going to sugarcoat things. Like they'll be honest. And like if you feel like you can't do that, a good way to help yourself, like if you feel alone, like you can always listen to music, or like how Isaac runs, like find something that you feel like is good to clear your mind. For me, it's writing. I write a lot of my thoughts so that it doesn't just jungle in my head and I just overthink about it.
And also, if you feel like you don't really have a trusted adult or someone that you can talk to, there's also anonymous like chat rooms and stuff like that. I know the Trevor Project is one, but that's specifically for like LGBT youth. If you don't fall into that category, that doesn't mean that you can't seek help like through them. Like if you just have an issue and you want to talk to someone, but you don't want them to know who you are, you just want to keep your problems to yourself, that's also an option.
I can give you guys some resources that we can post along with the video. I think Nathan and I kind of talked about this earlier a little bit. It was just like, there's crisis hotlines, there's text lines, there's, I mean, all sorts of stuff. So you, like they said, if you don't feel like you have somebody that you can think of off the top of your head, that doesn't mean that there aren't people out there who want to listen. People who work there because they probably have been in similar situations. So.
And those hotlines encourage
oh.
that you use a fake name. Like, you don't have to say a real name. It's just someone to listen to you or someone to give advice. Like, so it's an option for you. It's something you can definitely do. And yes, I will talk to Foot after this and link down some resources for you all below. The Trevor Project is definitely one that I'll try to put down there.
Yes, adding on to what Princess was saying about the trusted adult, I agree. I highly agree with that because I've actually talked to a trusted adult, and the one thing, it made me really feel really safe, because if you have a sense of comfort when you talk to them, and they make you feel safe, and along that, they're adults and they can take more action than whatever your friend can do. They can provide you with actual resources than just just letting it out to one of your friends. So definitely trusted adult is, I feel, number one resource to your solution for sure.
Yes. We're all still growing and we're all still kids, as much as we want to pretend that we're grown up and like we're not. It's okay to be like, hey, I don't know. You know what I mean? I talk to Foot all the time about my own personal stuff. That's someone that I can reach out to and be like, I have no idea what's going on. Because at the end of the day, we're not as grown as we pretend to be. And even if you are grown, you still struggle and you should still have someone you can lean on. So
Absolutely. I was gonna say, as an adult, I use this in like giant quotation marks, because like I mean, adults don't have it all together. You see that adults struggle with mental health. They just seem to hide it a lot more, I think, because they are terrified of what people are going to think of them if they are battling mental health issues. And we can't be silent about that anymore. Like if you are just feeling depressed, if you are just feeling in a funk, if you are just needing somebody to talk to, like there's nothing wrong with reaching out, because your trusted adult has another trusted adult that they go to talk to. So, you know, like it's all just about networking and being there for each other.
All in all, just no matter how alone you feel like you are, there's always somebody that you can talk to.
yes, you're definitely never ever alone. I think we're good unless anyone else has anything to add on per se.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a personal experience. I didn't want to interrupt any of you through that, so I just waited to the very end. But personally, just like Princess was saying, I also had a really hard time at the beginning of this year, or like my sophomore year in high school, only because I don't think I prepare myself enough, and I think I over stress myself out with my classes, considering I'm taking an AP class this year. So I definitely thought way too much about it, and I did talk to my friends, and I even went to my counselor a few times, and like they definitely helped me. Like I know most kids don't think like, oh, I don't need that help. Like, I'm just going to push everybody away. But pushing yourself away does not solve anything, because it just makes you feel even worse about not only yourself, but your actions. And personally, something that really helps me is reminding myself that I know that everybody else, like either my friends or anybody else, like you guys, that somebody is going through something just as worse as me. And somebody is going through even worse and like in any situation than me. So I need to like pull myself together right now and tell myself that everything I do and everything that happens in the future is for a reason or has a purpose. And I think like to me that helps me get through my days. Like if I'm having a really bad day, like that just helps me by reminding myself. And like I do listen to tons of music, and that helps me cope with like my anxiety and stuff like that. But I think giving yourself those little reminders also really helps you get through like high school and stuff like that.
I think to especially like add on to what Michelle was saying, it's okay to feel stressed too. Like it's no stress is, I think, honestly just as bad as being too stressed. Like stress is normal. It happens every day, from little things to big things. It's something you're gonna face, but it's not something you want none of. It's not something you want too much of. It's something you just have to manage and have to figure out what works best for you. Because what works best for all of us is not a universal cure. It's not something that can be cured. I think that's good to close on, unless we have anything else to add. Okay, that's been part 3 of our high school informational. Thank you. We're gonna go on to part 4 shortly. Bye.